What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Selkirk University, your home for product education, comparisons, tips, and really just all things Selkirk. Hey, in today's video, we're gonna go over how to choose the right paddle for you. Now, I often get this question from my friends that say, Barrett, I'm ready to buy a pickleball paddle, but I just don't know which one to pick, and there are so many to choose from. So what I'm gonna do in this video is I'm gonna break down 3 things that you should consider before buying your first pickleball paddle to help you make the right decision. But not only that, towards the end, what we're gonna talk about is, oftentimes you finally pick the right paddle and you get to checkout and then you realize there's 2 shapes. Like there's a wide body shape and an elongated shape. And so you finally did all this research and picked the right paddle, but now you have to pick the right shape. So don't worry, we're gonna talk about that too towards the end of the video. So let's get right into it. Now, the first thing that you should consider when buying a pickleball paddle is your play style. Now, I would separate play styles into 3 categories. You have control-oriented players, you have power-oriented players, and then you have balanced players that are somewhere in the middle. For myself, I would consider myself a balanced player that maybe leans a little bit more towards the control side. But how do you know what type of player you are? Well, first, ask yourself what types of shots come most comfortable to you. And when you're typically constructing a point in pickleball, what are the shots that you find yourself consistently going back to try to hit? Also ask yourself the inverse. What are some of your biggest struggles on the court? Do you struggle with the hard shots or do you struggle with the soft shots? Or are you somewhere in the middle? Asking yourself these questions will help you kind of determine your play style. But it's not a one-for-one that control style players want control paddles or power style players want power paddles. There are some control players that want power paddles and vice versa. So it's really important to consider the next 2 things I'm going to talk about before making your decision. So let's go ahead and get into the next thing. The next thing that you should consider is your skill level. Now, something that I often find is that players at a lower skill level, no matter if they're control players or power players, maybe tend to swing towards control paddles for the very reason of that being at a lower skill level, they have a much harder time keeping the ball in or aiming it to the right spots. So maybe you are a power player, but you just started playing or don't play very often or would consider yourself a lower skill level. I might recommend going with control paddle until you kind of play more and increase your skill level. The opposite is true. Now I play a little bit more on the advanced side. I play about 4.5 to 5.0 plus. And even though, like I said in the beginning of the video, I'm more of a balance to control style player, I play with a power paddle, the Selkirk Labs Boomtik. Now, I still find that there's great control and a great sweet spot on this paddle, which really helps. But even though I'm more of a balance to control style player, I find that at the higher level, you really need power in today's game to hang in some of those hands battles. Even having a half second more can help you come out on top of certain exchanges. So it's really important to consider that if you're at a higher level, you probably want a power paddle in today's game. Now, that's not a universal rule. There are obviously exceptions, but you should not just consider your play style, but how does your play style interact with your skill level? And the next thing that we're gonna talk about, which I'm sure many of you are wondering, is budget. Now, a question I often get is, Barrett, is a $140 paddle or $130, $140 paddle that much different than a $200 paddle? Like, does it jump up that much in terms of performance between, 150 to 200s to even 300 plus? And what I often direct people back to is, let's first talk about how many times you play a week or plan on playing a week. If you play 2 or more times a week, to me, it's worth it to spend the extra $60 or the extra $100 to get something that's going to be incredibly durable and high performance. If you're only playing once a week or less, then yeah, maybe stick with a more budget-friendly option until you get bit by the pickleball bug, get really obsessed, and then start playing more. Then you can think about upgrading. So when it comes to budget, I always direct people back to how many times do you plan on playing a week, and let that influence kind of how much you're willing to spend. But the last thing, like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, is that oftentimes you finally pick the right paddle, you do all your research, and let's say you get to checkout and you decided on the SLK era, but there's 2 shapes. You have a wide body shape and an elongated shape. How do you know which one's for you? I'm gonna give you a couple quick things to think about. 1, do you like to take a lot of balls out of the air, or do you prefer to let balls bounce? 2, do you have a lot of length? Are you a longer human being? Do you reach a lot? And 3, do you have a tennis or other racket sports background? I find that people that like to take the ball out of the air tend to like an elongated paddle, or people that have a lot of reach and that's a part of their game, they like an elongated paddle, or people that have a tennis background really like an elongated paddle. But the wide body shape is also growing a lot in popularity in today's game due to the kind of enhanced and increased sweet spot that you get from a wider face. So maybe you are a longer player, you do like to reach, but because you're so long, you don't mind having a wide body paddle. I typically find that if players really like resetting the ball, playing defensive, a lot of times they swing towards the wide body, and players that are a little bit more aggressive sometimes swing towards the elongated. But again, it's not a universal rule. I actually prefer an elongated paddle because I do find I'm not the longest human being, so I do like having a little extra reach, and I'm willing to sacrifice a little bit of width for a little more length. So those are 3 things that you should consider when it comes to wide body versus elongated. 1, do you take a lot of balls out of the air? And if so, maybe elongated. If you take a lot of balls off the bounce, maybe the wide body. 2, how long are you? If you have a lot of length, you might be okay with a wide body, or you might want to double down on your strengths and go with the elongated. And lastly, do you have a racket sports background? Because I do find often people with racket sports backgrounds tend to swing towards the elongated shape. But a lot to love with both shapes, and I really hope this video was a good overview for you in helping you to decide what is the perfect paddle for you. But I know there's a lot to consider, so if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to our customer service department, or on our website, we can match you up with a paddle specialist who would be happy to help you choose the right paddle for you. Or you can let me know if you have any other questions in the comments below, and I'll do my best to answer those. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.